The fluorescent lights of the diner flickered above my head, casting shadows that danced across the cracked linoleum floor like ghosts of better days. I could smell the burnt coffee mixing with grease from the kitchen, a scent so familiar it had become part of my skin. My feet ached, they always did by hour 10 of my shift. But I kept moving, refilling cups, forcing smiles at customers who barely saw me. I was invisible, a ghost in a stained uniform. "Sweetheart, can I get a refill?" An older man tapped his mug against the counter, not even looking up from his newspaper. Of course. My voice was soft, practiced in its servitude. I poured the dark liquid, watching it swirl, wishing I could disappear into its depths. 3 years. 3 years since Marcus left me with nothing but a baby in my arms and debts that multiplied like weeds. 3 years of double shifts, of Lily sleeping in the break room while I worked, of counting pennies to afford diapers. The world had taught me to make myself small, to take up as little space as possible, to survive in the margins. I glanced at the clock. 11:47 p.m., 13 more minutes and I could go home to my daughter. The bell above the door chimed, and I felt it before I saw him, a shift in the air, like the moment before lightning strikes. The diner went quiet in a way that made my spine straighten instinctively. He walked in, flanked by 2 men in dark suits, their eyes scanning the room with the precision of predators. But it was him I couldn't look away from. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than I made in 6 months. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass. There was something dangerous in the way he moved, controlled, deliberate, like every step was calculated. The scent of expensive cologne reached me even from across the room, mixing with something darker, gunpowder maybe, or just power. "Table in the back," one of his men said, not asked. It wasn't a question. I nodded, grabbing menus I knew they wouldn't read. My hands trembled slightly as I led them to the corner booth, the one that gave a clear view of both entrances. He sat with his back to the wall, and I noticed the bulge under his bodyguard's jacket. A gun. My heart hammered against my ribs. "What can I get you, gentlemen?" I kept my eyes down, trained on my notepad. "Coffee, black." His voice was low, smooth like aged whiskey, with an accent that spoke of old money and older violence, and whatever she wants. I looked up, confused. His eyes met mine for the first time. Dark, endless, the kind of eyes that had seen too much and forgotten nothing. I felt pinned, like a butterfly under glass. "You look exhausted." It wasn't sympathy in his voice, just observation. "When did you last eat?" I'm fine. "Just coffee then? Sit down." It wasn't a request. The bodyguards exchanged glances but said nothing. I stood frozen, my training screaming at me to obey customers, my instincts screaming something else entirely. I really should. Sit. Softer this time, but somehow more commanding. "Please." I sat, perched on the edge of the booth like a bird ready to flee. He studied me with an intensity that made me feel naked despite my clothes. "What's your name?" "Emma." It came out as a whisper. "Emma." He repeated it like he was tasting it, committing it to memory. I don't need to know," I interrupted, surprising myself. Some instinct for self-preservation kicked in. Whatever he was, whatever he did, I didn't want that knowledge. A slight smile curved his lips, and it transformed his face from dangerous to devastating. "Smart girl." One of the bodyguards brought coffee and a plate of food I hadn't ordered. Club sandwich, fries, the most expensive thing on our menu. My stomach growled traitorously. "Eat. I can't accept—" "You can." He leaned back, sipping his coffee, watching me with those unreadable eyes. "You will." I ate because I was starving, because pride was a luxury I couldn't afford, because something in his gaze made refusal feel impossible. The food tasted like sawdust in my mouth, my awareness of him drowning out everything else. "You work here alone at night?" he asked. "Usually there's 2 of us, but Carla called in sick. That's dangerous." He pulled out his phone, typed something. "This neighborhood." "I manage." "Do you?" His eyes flicked to my worn shoes, my frayed uniform, the exhaustion I couldn't hide. He saw everything, and I hated him for it. We sat in silence while I finished eating. His men stayed alert, watching the door, the windows, the kitchen. They moved like soldiers, like men who expected violence at any moment. When I stood to clear the table, his hand caught my wrist, gentle but firm. His touch sent electricity up my arm. "What time do you finish?" "Midnight." "My driver will take you home." "That's not necessary. It's not a debate, Emma." He released me, but I could still feel the ghost of his fingers on my skin. "It's not safe." Before I could argue, the bell chimed again. A man stumbled in, clearly drunk, his eyes bloodshot and mean. He grabbed the counter, demanding service, his voice too loud in the quiet diner. The stranger in the expensive suit didn't move, but both his bodyguards tensed. I saw hands move toward concealed weapons. "I'll handle it," I said quickly, moving toward the drunk man. "Sir, maybe you should—" He grabbed my arm, hard enough to bruise. "I want service, sweetheart. Now." Before I could react, the stranger was there, moving so fast I barely saw it. One moment he was in the booth, the next he had the drunk man's wrist in his hand, bending it at an angle that made the man yelp. "Apologize to the lady." His voice was quiet, deadly calm. "I didn't mean—" "Apologize." I'm sorry." He released him, and the drunk man fled into the night. The stranger turned to me, and I saw something flash in his eyes. Anger, yes, but something else. Possessiveness. Like I was something he'd claimed without asking. "Are you all right?" I nodded, unable to speak, rubbing my arm where the man had grabbed me. "Let me see." He took my arm gently, examining the red marks beginning to form. His jaw clenched. "This happens often?" "Sometimes. It's part of the job." "Not anymore." "What?" But he was already walking toward the owner's office. I heard raised voices, the stranger's low and commanding, my boss's frightened and agreeable. When he emerged 5 minutes later, he handed me an envelope. 3-month severance. You start somewhere safer next week. You can't just... I can. He straightened his cuffs, signaled to his men, and I did. My driver will be outside at midnight. "I don't even know you." He paused at the door, turning back to look at me with those dark, endless eyes. "No," he agreed. "But you will." They left as suddenly as they'd appeared, leaving me standing in the middle of the empty diner with an envelope full of money and a feeling like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. At midnight, I walked outside with my purse and my pride in tatters. A black Mercedes with tinted windows idled at the curb. The driver opened the door without a word. I should have walked away, should have taken the bus like always, but my feet hurt, and Lily was waiting, and something in me was too tired to fight. I got in. The car smelled like leather and luxury. The driver said nothing as he pulled into traffic. I gave him my address, a rundown apartment complex in the worst part of town, without thinking. When we arrived, he walked me to my door, waited until I was inside. Through the window, I watched the Mercedes disappear into the night. Mrs. Chen was asleep on my couch, my 2-year-old daughter curled against her. I paid her the last of my cash, watched her leave, then scooped Lily into my arms. She smelled like baby shampoo and innocence. "Mama," she murmured, not waking. "I'm here, baby. Mama's here." I carried her to our shared bed, tucked her in, then opened the envelope with shaking hands. $3,000, more money than I'd seen in years. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Sleep well, Emma. You're safe now." My blood ran cold. How did he have my number? How did he know where I lived? I should have been terrified. Should have called the police. Instead, I saved the number and fell asleep wondering what color his eyes would be in sunlight. The next morning, I woke to Lily's laughter and the smell of coffee I hadn't made. My heart stopped as I grabbed her, pulling her close, scanning the apartment for intruders. On my kitchen counter sat a coffee cup from an expensive cafe I'd never been to, still warm, with a note in elegant handwriting, the beginning of safer days. Dai. He'd been in my home while I slept, and somehow, impossibly, instead of fear, I felt seen. I called in sick to the diner, though I technically didn't work there anymore. The envelope of cash sat on my counter like evidence of a crime I hadn't committed yet. Lily played with her stuffed rabbit, oblivious to the way my hands shook as I made her breakfast. He'd been in my apartment, while I slept. While my daughter slept, I should have felt violated, terrified. Instead, I kept touching the coffee cup, still faintly warm, reading and rereading that single letter. D. My phone buzzed throughout the morning. Unknown number. I didn't answer. By the fifth call, Lily looked up at me with her father's eyes. The only thing Marcus had left her besides his debts and his abandonment. Phone, Mama. It's nothing, baby. But it wasn't nothing. The sixth time it rang, I answered. Emma. Just my name, but I recognized his voice instantly. That smooth, dangerous timbre that made my name sound like a promise and a threat. You've been ignoring me. You broke into my home. I brought you coffee. A pause. And ensured your safety. The locks on your door are a joke. I had them replaced. I walked to my front door, examined it with new eyes. Sure enough, there was a new deadbolt, shining and industrial. How had I not noticed? You can't just... We've established that I can. I heard the smile in his voice. The question is whether you'll let me. I don't even know your name. Dante. He said it like a confession. Dante Moretti. The name meant nothing to me, but the way he said it suggested it should. What do you want from me? Have lunch with me. I have a daughter. I can't just... Bring her. His voice softened almost imperceptibly. I'll send a car at noon. Wear something comfortable. Mr. Moretti, Dante, and Emma, he paused. The men watching your building, they're mine. You'll notice them now that you know to look. They're not there to frighten you. They're there to keep you safe. He hung up before I could respond. I ran to the window, peered through the blinds. There. A black sedan parked across the street, tinted windows reflecting the morning sun. And there. A man in a dark jacket reading a newspaper that never turned pages. How long had they been there? How had I not seen? Mama, park? Lily tugged at my sleeve. I looked down at my daughter, at her hopeful smile, her complete trust that I would keep her safe. What was I doing? This man, Dante, was clearly dangerous. The guns, the bodyguards, the casual way he'd bent that drunk man's wrist. But he'd also protected me, fed me, given me money when I had none, replaced my locks. At 11:45, I dressed Lily in her best outfit, a pink dress I'd found at Goodwill, only slightly faded. I put on the only dress I owned that didn't smell like the diner, applied lipstick with trembling hands. The Mercedes arrived at exactly noon. This time when the driver opened the door, I saw him clearly. Older, Italian, with kind eyes that had seen too much. Mrs. Emma. The little one. She needs a car seat, yes? He produced one from the trunk, installed it with practiced efficiency. Lily clapped her hands, delighted by the fancy car, the nice man, the adventure. We drove through the city, leaving behind the crumbling buildings and broken streetlights of my neighborhood. The scenery shifted, cleaner streets, better cars, buildings that gleamed in the sunlight. We stopped at a restaurant I'd only seen in magazines, the kind of place with a wait list months long. The driver opened my door. Mr. Moretti is waiting in the private dining room. I lifted Lily onto my hip, her weight familiar and grounding. A hostess led us through the main dining area, all white tablecloths and crystal glasses, and people who belonged in this world of wealth and privilege. We climbed a staircase to a room that overlooked the city. Dante stood by the window, backlit by sunlight, and my breath caught. He'd looked dangerous in the diner's fluorescent lighting. In natural light, he was devastating. The sun caught highlights in his dark hair, threw his sharp features into relief. He wore a navy suit today, perfectly tailored, with a watch that probably cost more than my car, if I'd had a car. Then he turned, and his eyes landed on Lily. Something shifted in his expression. A softness I hadn't seen before, quickly masked. He crossed the room in 3 strides, but stopped a respectful distance away, crouching down to Lily's level. Hello, Piccola. What's your name? Lily, usually shy, studied him with serious eyes. Lily. Lily. Like the flower. Beautiful. He glanced up at me, and I saw questions in his eyes. Whose child? Where's the father? But he didn't ask. Instead, he gestured to a corner of the room where toys had been arranged. Expensive, untouched, carefully selected for a toddler. I wasn't sure what you'd like, so I got several options. Lily's eyes went wide. She looked at me for permission. It's okay, baby. You can play. She ran to the toys with a squeal of delight, and I was left standing alone with this dangerous man who'd thought to buy toys for my daughter. You didn't have to. Sit, Emma, please. He pulled out a chair at the table set for two. Adult food for us, a smaller plate with child-friendly options for Lily. He'd thought of everything. I sat because my knees were weak, because he was looking at me like I was something precious, because I didn't know what else to do. A waiter appeared with wine for him, water for me without asking. Food followed, course after course of dishes I couldn't pronounce, all of it delicious, none of it real. This wasn't my world. You're afraid of me, Dante observed, swirling his wine. Should I be? Probably. He took a sip, watching me over the rim. But I'd never hurt you. You don't know me. I know enough. He set down his glass, leaned forward. I know you work yourself to exhaustion for your daughter. I know you haven't bought yourself new shoes in over a year. I know you eat 1 meal a day so she can have 2. I know you're stronger than you think you are. You had me investigated. Of course I did. No apology in his voice. I needed to understand. Understand what? Why I can't stop thinking about you. He said it matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. From the moment you walked toward my table, notepad in hand, trying to be invisible, I knew. Knew what? That you were mine. The words should have sounded insane, possessive, frightening, but the way he said them, with such absolute certainty, made something in my chest tighten. I'm not anyone's, I said, but my voice wavered. Not yet. He smiled, and it was predatory. Tell me about him. Lily's father. I looked at my daughter, playing contentedly with a stuffed elephant that probably cost more than my rent. There's nothing to tell. He left before she was born. Name. Why? Because I want to know who hurt you. His voice dropped lower, dangerous. Who abandoned you both? Marcus. His name was Marcus Webb. I picked at my food. He worked construction, or at least that's what he told me. Turns out he worked for someone else, doing things that weren't exactly legal. Dante's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. What kind of things? I don't know. He never told me details. Just that he'd make a big score and we'd be set for life. I laughed bitterly. Instead, he disappeared with money that wasn't his and left me with his debts. Whose money? I looked up, caught the intensity in his gaze. I don't know. Some businessman. Marcus called him the boss, said he was untouchable, powerful, that crossing him was suicide. I swallowed hard. A week later, Marcus was gone. I found out I was pregnant the same day men came looking for him. Dante's hand clenched around his wine glass, knuckles white. Did they hurt you? No. They searched the apartment, asked questions I couldn't answer. Then they left. I met his eyes. I never saw them again. Or Marcus. Emma. He reached across the table, covered my hand with his. His palm was warm, callous despite the expensive suit. Marcus Webb stole from me $500,000 in cash, meant for a legitimate business deal. He betrayed my trust, my organization, and disappeared like the coward he was. The world tilted. I pulled my hand back as if burned. You're the boss. The one he... Yes, I stood so fast my chair tipped over. Lily looked up, startled. We need to leave. Sit down, Emma. No. You brought me here to... What, get revenge? Use me to find him? I don't know where he is. I don't have your money. Sit down, not loud, but commanding enough that I obeyed instinctively, hating myself for it. He righted my chair, his movements controlled. I didn't bring you here for revenge. I brought you here because I haven't been able to think straight since I saw you in that diner. This is insane. You're insane. Probably. He agreed. But it doesn't change the facts. Marcus betrayed me. Yes. He took my money and ran. I spent 3 years looking for him, Emma. 3 years. My men searched everywhere. And? His jaw clenched. We found him 6 months ago, in Miami. Living under a fake name, spending my money on drugs and women. Past tense. Found. My stomach dropped. Is he dead? Does it matter? Dante's eyes were hard. He left you pregnant and alone. He never checked if you were okay, if his child was born, if you needed help. He's been alive and well while you worked yourself to death. Is he dead? I repeated, needing to know. No. Dante leaned back. But he wishes he was. He's in a federal prison now. Witness protection traded for testimony against some very bad people. People who aren't me, but who I was happy to help put away. He smiled without warmth. He'll spend the next 20 years looking over his shoulder, wondering if I'll change my mind about letting him live. I should have felt relief, knowing Marcus was alive. Instead, I felt nothing. He was a stranger who'd left me pregnant and alone, who'd never cared enough to check on his own daughter. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want secrets between us. Dante stood, walked to where Lily played, crouched beside her again. She showed him the elephant, chattering about its big ears. He listened with genuine interest, and my heart did something dangerous. What do you want from me? I asked quietly. He looked at me over Lily's head, and in his eyes I saw hunger, possession, and something deeper I couldn't name. Everything. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it from my purse, grateful for the distraction. A text from an unknown number. Wrong person. Delete this. Below it, a message clearly not meant for me. The shipment arrives Tuesday. Make sure the warehouse is clear. No witnesses. My blood turned to ice. I looked up at Dante, who was watching me with sudden alertness. What is it? I showed him the phone, hands shaking. He read it, his expression darkening. He pulled out his own phone, made a call in rapid Italian. When he hung up, his eyes were cold fury. Someone on my team is careless, or stupid, or both. He took my phone gently. I need to keep this. Evidence. Evidence of what? Of a problem I need to solve. He cupped my face with one hand, thumb brushing my cheekbone. Go home, Emma. Pack a bag for you and Lily. My driver will take you somewhere safe. Safe from what? From whoever sent that message. They have your number now. They know they made a mistake, and people who make mistakes in my world. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I can't just leave my home. Your apartment isn't safe anymore. Not if someone thinks you saw something you shouldn't have. His grip tightened slightly, urgent. Please, Emma, trust me. Just for a few days until I clean this up. I looked at Lily, playing innocently with her new toys, completely unaware that her mother's life had just become infinitely more complicated. Okay, I whispered. Okay. Dante pressed a kiss to my forehead, brief, possessive, claiming. Good girl. My men will keep you safe, I promise. As the driver took us home, I watched the city pass by, feeling like I'd stepped into a dream that was slowly becoming a nightmare. Or maybe it was the other way around. In my apartment, I packed our bags with shaking hands, knowing that when I walked out that door, nothing would ever be the same. The safe house wasn't what I expected. I'd imagined something dark and industrial, all concrete and shadows. Instead, the driver took us to a penthouse in the most expensive part of the city, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking glittering lights, marble floors, furniture that looked like art. This is temporary? I asked the driver, whose name I'd learned was Paolo. Mr. Moretti's personal residence, signora. He set our meager bags down in the entryway, looking almost embarrassed by how little we had. He insisted you stay here. Safest place in the city. Where will he stay? Paolo's lips twitched. He has other properties, but... He hesitated. He'll likely be here most nights, to ensure your safety personally. Of course he would. After Paolo left, I explored with Lily on my hip. The penthouse was enormous. 4 bedrooms, each with private bathrooms, a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a restaurant, a living room that could fit my entire apartment 3 times over. Everything was sleek, modern, expensive. And somehow, despite the luxury, it felt empty. Unlived in. No photographs, no personal items. just beautiful, sterile perfection. I found the master bedroom, king-size bed with black silk sheets, a closet bigger than Lily's room back home. On the dresser sat a framed photograph, the only personal item I'd seen, Dante, younger, standing next to an older man who shared his dark eyes and strong jaw. Both wore suits. Both looked dangerous, but there was warmth in the older man's smile that Dante's lacked. "Pretty," Lily said, pointing at the city lights through the window. "Yes, baby. Very pretty." I kissed her head, tried to calm my racing heart. "Let's find our room, okay?" I chose one of the guest rooms, decorated in soft grays and whites, with an ensuite bathroom and a view of the city. I unpacked our bags, which took all of 3 minutes, then gave Lily a bath in a tub so large she could practically swim in it. By the time I tucked her into the massive bed, she was already half asleep, exhausted from the day's excitement. "Mama stay?" she murmured. "Always, baby. Mama's always here." I lay beside her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing even out. What had I done? I'd let a dangerous man, a man Marcus had stolen from, a man who commanded enough power to send me into hiding with a single phone call, into our lives. But he'd also been gentle with Lily. Thoughtful, protective. The sound of the front door opening made me freeze. Footsteps, confident and familiar, moving through the penthouse. I heard him pause, probably seeing our bags, confirming we were here, then silence. I waited, but he didn't come to the bedroom. Eventually, curiosity won. I slipped out of bed, padding barefoot into the living room. Dante stood by the window, tie loosened, jacket discarded, staring out at the city he clearly owned. He'd rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars. A glass of whiskey dangled from one hand. "She asleep?" he asked without turning. "Yes." "Good." He took a sip of his drink. "You should be too. I can't." I moved closer, drawn despite my better judgment. "That text message, what does it mean? Am I in danger? Is Lily?" "No." He turned finally, and I saw exhaustion in his eyes, the weight of whatever he'd been doing since I left. I found the source, a new recruit, careless with his phone. He's been dealt with. I didn't ask what dealt with meant. I didn't want to know. The shipment he mentioned? Legal. Entirely legal. Dante's smile was bitter. "I run legitimate businesses, Emma. Construction, real estate, importing. But I also have other interests. Things that require discretion." The text was about a shipment of marble from Italy for a hotel renovation. "Hardly dangerous. Then why did you seem so worried?" "Because you saw it." He set down his glass, moved toward me with that predatory grace. "Because in my world, even innocent information can be dangerous if the wrong people think you know too much, because I won't risk you." He stopped close enough that I could smell his cologne, feel the heat radiating from his body. "Why?" I whispered. "Why do you care so much? You don't know me." "I know enough." His hand came up, fingers tangling gently in my hair. "I know that you're strong and scared and trying to be brave for your daughter. I know that you've been invisible for so long, you've forgotten what it's like to be seen. I know that when I look at you, something in me that's been dead for years wakes up. That's insane." "Yes." He smiled, and it was real this time, almost boyish. I should have walked away from that diner and never looked back, but I couldn't. I can't. "Dante, I want to take care of you, Emma, you and Lily both, not because I'm trying to buy you or control you, but because the thought of you working yourself to death, of your daughter growing up with nothing, makes me want to burn the world down." His thumb brushed my cheek. "Let me give you something better. I don't need to be saved. I know. That's what makes you remarkable." He leaned closer, his breath warm against my lips. "But maybe I do." He kissed me then, soft at first, questioning, giving me every chance to pull away. When I didn't, when I leaned into him instead, he deepened it, one hand cupping the back of my head, the other sliding to my waist, pulling me flush against him. I'd been kissed before. Marcus had kissed me, back when he'd pretended to love me. But this was different. This was hunger and promise and possession all wrapped together. This was a man claiming what he'd decided was his, and God help me. I kissed him back. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "Stay," he said. "Not just tonight. Stay with me. Let me protect you. Let me give Lily the life she deserves." "I barely know you." "Then get to know me." His hands framed my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. "I'm not a good man, Emma. I've done things that would terrify you. I've hurt people, destroyed lives, built an empire on blood and fear. But with you, I want to be better. You make me want to be the man I see reflected in your eyes. You don't know what you're asking. I'm asking you to take a chance, to let yourself be taken care of for once instead of carrying everything alone." He kissed my forehead, gentle despite the intensity in his voice. "I'm asking you to be mine." I should have said no. Should have grabbed Lily and run as far as possible from this beautiful, dangerous man who made my heart race and my sanity crumble. Instead, I heard myself whisper, "Okay." The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of impossible luxury. Dante worked during the day, his legitimate businesses, apparently requiring constant attention, but returned every evening. We fell into a routine that felt dangerously domestic. He'd arrive around 6, bringing dinner from expensive restaurants, and the three of us would eat together. He was patient with Lily, answering her endless questions, playing with her toys, reading her bedtime stories in Italian that made her giggle even though she didn't understand. He bought her things, clothes, toys, books, but never too much, somehow understanding that I'd balk at excessive spoiling. With me, he was courteous, respectful. He'd kiss me goodnight, long and deep enough to make me forget my name, but then he'd leave for one of the other bedrooms, giving me space I wasn't sure I wanted. "Why don't you stay?" I asked one night, after he'd kissed me breathless against the hallway wall. "Because when I have you, Emma, and I will have you, it won't be because you're grateful or scared or confused." His thumb traced my swollen lips. "It'll be because you're sure, because you want me as much as I want you." On the 15th day, everything changed. I was making breakfast, a skill I'd discovered in Dante's restaurant-quality kitchen, when my phone rang. My old phone, the one I'd kept despite Dante buying me a new one. Unknown number. "Hello?" Heavy breathing. Then, "Emma." My blood froze. I knew that voice. 3 years hadn't erased it from my memory. "Marcus?" Dante, who'd been reading the newspaper at the kitchen island, went very still. "I know you're with him," Marcus said, his voice shaking. "I know you're living in his penthouse, letting him play daddy to my daughter. She's not your daughter. You gave up that right when you left. I made a mistake. I was scared. But I love you, Emma. I always have. And now you're with him, the man who wants me dead. He said you were in prison. I got out. Technicality. And the first thing I did was come back for you." His voice dropped, turned pleading. "Meet me. Let me explain. Let me see Lily. She deserves to know her real father." "Emma, no. Please." Dante plucked the phone from my hand with controlled precision. "Marcus." His voice was ice. "You have 10 seconds to tell me how you got this number before I find you and finish what I started 3 years ago." I couldn't hear Marcus's response, but I saw Dante's expression darken. "Come near her again, and I'll kill you myself. Witness protection won't save you. Federal prison won't save you. Nothing will save you." He ended the call, then calmly removed the battery from my old phone. "He's been watching, somehow. Following you. That's impossible. We've been here for 2 weeks, which means he's been watching for 2 weeks." Dante made a call, spoke rapid Italian, then turned to me. "Pack a bag. We're leaving." "Where?" "Somewhere he'll never find you. Somewhere I can keep you safe while I deal with this." He cupped my face, and I saw real fear in his eyes for the first time. "He won't stop, Emma. Men like Marcus, they're like dogs with bones. He sees you as his, sees me as a threat, and he's desperate enough to do something stupid. What about Lily? She comes with us. Both of you, always." He kissed me hard, fast. "Trust me, please." I nodded, my heart hammering. Within an hour, we were in a helicopter, An actual helicopter, flying over the city toward the coast. Lily loved it, pressed against the window, pointing at the tiny cars below. I held her tight, tried to ignore the armed men accompanying us, the grim set of Dante's jaw. We landed at a compound on a private beach. High walls, security cameras, men with guns patrolling the perimeter. The main house was beautiful, all white stone and blue shutters, overlooking crystal-clear water. "This is where I grew up," Dante said as we entered. "My father built it. No one knows about this place except family. It's beautiful. It's a fortress." He gestured to the guards. "No one gets in without my permission. You're safe here." That night, after Lily fell asleep in a bedroom decorated like a princess's dream, I found Dante on the terrace, staring at the dark ocean. "Tell me about your father," I said, sitting beside him. He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "He was the best man I knew, ruthless in business, gentle with family. He taught me everything, how to lead, how to fight, how to protect what's mine." His hand found mine. "He died protecting my mother from men who wanted to hurt him through her. I was 17. I watched him bleed out in our living room while she screamed. Dante, I killed them all," he continued, his voice flat. "Every man involved. Took me 2 years, but I hunted them down one by one. And when it was done, I took over his empire and made it 10 times larger, because that's what he would have wanted. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me who I am." He turned to face me fully. "But it also taught me something, Emma. The people you love are your greatest weakness. They can be used against you, hurt, taken away. So you protect them with everything you have. You build walls, hire guards, eliminate threats before they materialize. Is that what I am? A weakness? The greatest one I've ever had." He smiled sadly. "Marcus knows that now, which is why he's dangerous, which is why I need to end this. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes to keep you safe." He stood, pulled me to my feet. "But tonight I just want to hold you." He led me to his bedroom, our bedroom, he corrected, and we lay together on top of the covers, fully clothed. His arms wrapped around me, solid and safe, while the ocean whispered outside the windows. "I'm falling for you," I whispered into the darkness, "and it terrifies me." "Good." His lips brushed my temple. "I've already fallen. It's only fair you catch up." I woke to screaming. I bolted upright, heart slamming against my ribs. Lily's screams pierced the darkness. High, terrified, the kind that turned a mother's blood to ice, I ran, barefoot across cold marble, Dante right behind me. Her bedroom door stood open, and she was sitting up in bed, sobbing, reaching for me. "Mama! Mama!" I gathered her into my arms, felt her small body trembling. "I'm here, baby. Mama's here." "What's wrong?" "Bad man. Bad man at window." Dante was already at the window, gun in his hand. When had he grabbed a gun? Scanning the darkness beyond. The curtains fluttered in the breeze from the open window. Open. It had been closed when I put her to bed. "Stay here," Dante commanded, then disappeared into the hallway. I heard shouts in Italian, running footsteps, the compound coming alive with sudden urgency. I held Lily tight, murmuring reassurances I didn't feel, watching shadows dance across the walls. Minutes stretched like hours before Dante returned, his expression carved from stone. There was someone. They got over the south wall, disabled 2 cameras. My men are searching the grounds. He holstered his gun, moved to us. But they won't find him. Whoever it was, they're gone. How did they get in? You said this place was safe. It is. Which means this was someone good, professional. His jaw clenched. Or someone desperate enough to try the impossible. Marcus. Maybe. Or someone he hired. Dante lifted Lily from my arms gently. "Come on, Piccola. You're sleeping in my room tonight, with guards outside the door." We moved as a unit to the master bedroom. Dante checked every window, every lock, then positioned himself between us and the door. Lily, exhausted from crying, fell asleep almost immediately, curled between us like she belonged there. I lay awake, listening to Dante's breathing, feeling the tension radiating from his body. "This is my fault," I whispered. "If I hadn't answered his call, this is Marcus's fault, and mine. for not dealing with him permanently when I had the chance. His hand found mine in the darkness. But that ends tomorrow. What are you going to do? Find him. End this. His voice was cold, final. He threatened you. Scared Lily. There's no coming back from that, Dante. I don't want you to become a murderer because of me. Emma. He rolled to face me, his eyes catching moonlight. I've been a murderer since I was 17. This isn't about becoming something I'm not. This is about protecting what's mine. And you're mine now. Both of you. He kissed me then, hard and possessive, swallowing my protests. When he pulled back, his thumb traced my jaw. Sleep. I'll keep you safe. I didn't sleep. I watched him, this dangerous man who'd somehow become everything, and wondered how I'd fallen so far, so fast. Morning brought Paolo and 2 other men, Carlo and Enzo, who Dante introduced as his most trusted associates. They spoke in rapid Italian over coffee while I made breakfast, trying to pretend everything was normal, as Lily ate pancakes shaped like hearts. Emma, Dante pulled me aside, his expression serious. I need to go into the city. Meet with some people, gather information on Marcus's whereabouts. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. He called my phone, Dante. He's been watching me. Maybe I can help. I gripped his arms. Besides, I'm going crazy locked up here. Please. He studied me for a long moment, then sighed. You stay in the car, with Paolo, armed guards. The moment I sense danger, you leave. Understood? Understood. We left Lily with Mrs. Rosa, an older woman who'd appeared that morning, apparently Dante's childhood nanny, summoned from retirement to help. Lily took to her immediately, distracted by promises of baking cookies. The drive back to the city took 2 hours. I sat beside Dante in the back of the armored Mercedes, watching his profile as he made call after call, his voice switching between Italian and English, always commanding, always in control. Your legitimate businesses, I said during a lull. Are they really legitimate? He smiled slightly. Yes, mostly. The construction company builds hospitals and schools. The real estate portfolio includes affordable housing projects. The importing business brings art and food from Italy. He took my hand. My father believed that true power came from being indispensable to society, not just feared by criminals. I've followed that philosophy. And the other part? The part that isn't legitimate, protection, information. Favors owed and collected. He met my eyes. I don't deal drugs, don't traffic people, don't hurt innocents, but I do enforce certain rules in certain communities. Keep the real monsters in check. It's a gray area I've learned to navigate. That's still illegal. Yes, but necessary. He lifted my hand to his lips. Does it change how you feel about me? I thought about it. Really thought. He'd killed people, broken laws, built an empire on fear and loyalty. But he'd also been gentle with Lily, patient with me, protective when I needed it most. No, I admitted. I think I'm too far gone already. His smile was triumphant, possessive. Good. We stopped at a warehouse in an industrial district. Dante made me wait in the car with Paolo and 2 guards, while he went inside with Carlo and Enzo. Through the tinted windows, I watched him disappear into the building. Minutes passed. 10. 20. I was about to demand Paolo tell me what was happening when I heard it, a gunshot, echoing across the empty lot. My heart stopped. More gunshots. Shouting. Paolo was already on his radio, calling for backup, telling me to get down, but I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Dante emerged from the warehouse, very much alive, dragging someone by the collar. Even from a distance, I recognized the stumbling figure. Marcus. Paolo opened the door at Dante's approach. Marcus was thrown into the front seat, zip-tied and bleeding from his nose. He looked worse than I remembered, gaunt, strung out, desperate. Dante slid in beside me, not a hair out of place despite the violence I'd heard. Found him hiding in the back office. Apparently he's been squatting here, using my own property to plan against me. He laughed without humor. Stupid and ironic. Marcus twisted to look at me through the seats. Emma, please. Tell him I just wanted to see you. To apologize. I never meant... You broke into my compound, Dante interrupted, his voice deadly calm. Climbed through a window and terrified a 2-year-old child. You've been stalking Emma for weeks, threatening her safety. My patience is exhausted, Marcus. I'm Lily's father. I have rights. You have nothing. I spoke for the first time, surprised by the strength in my voice. You left us. You stole money, ran away, and never once checked if we were okay. You don't get to call yourself her father. I made mistakes. I was young, scared. You were a coward, Dante said, and now you're a dead man. The words hung in the air, cold and final. Marcus paled, struggling against his restraints. Wait, I have information. About the people who want you dead, Dante. The families from New York. They're planning something big. I already know about New York. Dante pulled out his phone, showed Marcus something that made him go gray. See, while you were playing stalker, I was being productive. The families are being dealt with as we speak. By morning, the threat will be neutralized. Then what do you need me for? Let me go. I'll disappear. I swear, you'll never... I need you, Dante said softly, to send a message. To anyone else who thinks they can threaten what's mine and live. He nodded to Paolo, who started driving toward the docks. Dante. I grabbed his arm, lowered my voice. What are you going to do? What needs to be done? He cupped my face, his eyes intense. This is who I am, Emma. This is the part of me that isn't civilized or gentle. If you can't accept it, tell me now, and I'll take you back to the compound. But Marcus threatened you, scared Lily. I won't let that stand. I looked at Marcus, the man who'd promised me forever and delivered abandonment, who'd left me pregnant and alone, who'd recently terrorized my daughter. I thought about Lily's screams, her fear, the window standing open in the darkness. I understand, I whispered. Dante kissed me, deep and claiming, right there in front of Marcus. When he pulled back, his smile was sharp. That's my girl. At the docks, Marcus was dragged out of the car. Dante spoke quietly with Carlo and Enzo, gesturing toward a boat waiting in the darkness. I didn't ask what would happen, didn't want to know the details, but I understood that Marcus Webb would never threaten us again. Dante returned to the car, sliding in beside me as if we'd just finished dinner, not arranged someone's disappearance. It's done. He'll be taken somewhere far away, given a new identity, and told in very clear terms that if he ever returns, if he ever tries to contact you again, the mercy I showed tonight will evaporate. You're letting him live? For you. For Lily. He took my hand. I won't make her grow up knowing I killed her biological father, even if he deserves it, but he'll spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder, knowing I could change my mind at any moment. It should have horrified me, this casual discussion of threats and exile, this man who wielded such absolute power. Instead, I felt relief, safety, like a weight I'd carried for 3 years had finally lifted. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me for protecting you. It's not a favor. It's my right. My privilege. He pulled me against him, and I went willingly, settling into his arms. You're mine, Emma. Mine to protect, mine to care for, mine to love. And I take care of what's mine. Love? The word caught in my throat. Yes. No hesitation, no doubt. I love you. I've loved you since that first night, when you tried to be invisible and I saw everything. When you ate that sandwich like you were starving but too proud to admit it. When you looked at me like I was dangerous but kissed me anyway. Dante, you don't have to say it back, not yet, but you will. He smiled against my hair, because you feel it too. I see it in the way you look at me, the way you trust me with your daughter, the way you didn't run when you saw what I'm capable of. He was right. God help me, he was right. I do, I admitted. I love you. It's insane and too fast and probably the worst decision I've ever made. But I love you. His kiss was fierce, claiming, full of promises and possession. When we finally broke apart, the city lights glittered around us, and I knew with absolute certainty that my life had changed forever. We drove back to the compound in silence, his arm around me, our fingers laced together. When we arrived, Lily ran to greet us, covered in flour, chattering about the cookies she'd made with Mrs. Rosa. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Dante led me to his bedroom, our bedroom. "No more separate rooms," he said, closing the door behind us. "No more pretending this isn't permanent." He undressed me slowly, reverently, like I was something precious, and when he made love to me, because that's what it was, not sex, but something deeper, he whispered promises in Italian against my skin, branded me with touches and kisses until I couldn't remember ever belonging to anyone else. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, his heartbeat steady against my back, I finally felt safe, cherished. Home. "Marry me," he said into the darkness. I turned to face him, searching his eyes for doubt, found only certainty. "We barely know each other. I know everything that matters, and I want to wake up every morning with you beside me, knowing you're mine in every way possible." He kissed my forehead. "Marry me, Emma. Let me give you and Lily my name, my protection, my everything." "Yes," I breathed, because what else could I say? "Yes." His smile was blinding, boyish, transforming his dangerous face into something beautiful. He kissed me again, sealing the promise between us. 3 weeks later, we married in a small chapel overlooking the ocean, with only Paolo, Mrs. Rosa, and a handful of Dante's trusted men as witnesses. Lily wore a white dress and scattered rose petals, delighted to be part of the ceremony. I wore a simple gown, nothing like the elaborate wedding I'd once imagined, but standing beside Dante, feeling his hand shake slightly as he slid the ring onto my finger, I knew this was better. Real. Right. "I promise to protect you," he said, his vows in English for me, Italian for tradition, to cherish you, to give you everything you've been denied. "You are my heart, Emma, my salvation, and I will spend every day proving myself worthy of your trust. I promise to stand beside him, to be his partner, to love him despite the darkness and because of the light." When the priest declared us married, Dante kissed me like I was air and he'd been drowning. That night, in our bedroom, he made love to me with a reverence that brought tears to my eyes. "You're crying," he murmured, brushing them away. Happy tears. I never thought, after Marcus, after everything, I never thought I could have this. "You have me, forever." His hand splayed across my stomach, possessive and gentle. "And maybe if you want, we could give Lily a brother or sister." The thought filled me with warmth, with hope. "I'd like that. Then we'll make it happen." He kissed me deeply. "Everything you want, Emma. Everything you deserve. I'll give it all to you." And he did. 6 months later, I stood in the nursery of our new home, a sprawling estate that Dante had bought specifically because I'd mentioned loving the garden, watching my daughter play with her baby brother. Yes, brother. I'd discovered I was pregnant 2 months after the wedding, and Dante had been insufferable in the best way possible, hovering, protective to the point of absurdity, treating me like I was made of glass. He'd installed cameras in every room, hired a full-time nurse despite my protests, and worked from home more often than not just to be near me. "You're being ridiculous," I'd told him, when he'd tried to carry me down the stairs for the 3rd time that week. "You're carrying my child. I'm allowed to be ridiculous." He'd kissed me thoroughly, ending the argument the way he always did, by making me forget what we were arguing about. Marco Dante Moretti had been born on a spring morning, screaming his arrival to the world with healthy lungs and his father's dark eyes. Watching Dante hold his son for the first time, tears streaming down his face, had broken something open in my chest. "He's perfect," he'd whispered, pressing kisses to Marco's tiny forehead. "You're perfect. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for giving me everything." Now, at 4 months old, Marco was the center of Dante's universe. Well, one of the centers. He spoiled both children ruthlessly, though he'd learned to restrain himself after I'd put my foot down about buying Lily an actual pony. "She's 3, Dante. 3. She doesn't need a pony." But she also asked for ice cream for breakfast every day. "We don't do that either." He'd pouted, actually pouted, until I'd kissed him, and promised we could revisit the pony idea when she was older, much older. "Mama!" Marco smiled at me. Lily's voice pulled me from my memories. She was leaning over her brother's playpen, making faces that had him gurgling happily. "He loves his big sister," I said, moving to join them. "Papa says I'm the best sister in the whole world." "Papa is absolutely right." Dante's voice came from the doorway. He'd come home early, still in his suit, looking every bit the powerful businessman he was, but his eyes softened when they landed on us, the dangerous edge melting into pure love. He crossed the room, scooped Marco up with practiced ease, then pulled Lily into his other arm. "My family," he murmured, kissing each of them. Then his eyes found mine. My everything. I moved into his embrace, completing our little circle. This was what I'd never known I was missing. Not just safety or security or luxury, though Dante provided all of that and more, but belonging, being seen, being loved so fiercely that nothing could shake it. "Hard day?" I asked, noticing the tension in his shoulders. The New York families are still making noise. Nothing serious, but enough to be annoying. He set the children down, keeping Marco cradled in one arm, while Lily ran back to her toys. "I need to go to the city tomorrow, meeting with some associates, making sure everyone understands the current arrangement." By arrangement, he meant the tentative peace he'd brokered after Marcus's exile. The families who'd wanted him dead had been given a choice: accept his terms or face the consequences. Most had chosen acceptance. The few who hadn't, well, they weren't problems anymore. I didn't ask for details. That was our unspoken agreement. Dante protected me from the worst of his world, and I trusted him to keep us safe. "How long will you be gone?" "Just the day. I'll be home for dinner." He pulled me close with his free arm, Marco between us. "I don't like leaving you, even for a few hours. We'll be fine. You have 20 guards on the property, cameras everywhere, and Mrs. Rosa has the children's schedule memorized better than I do." I stood on my toes to kiss him. "Go, do what you need to do. We'll be here when you get back." That night, after the children were asleep, Dante made love to me with an urgency that surprised me. Usually he was controlled, deliberate, taking his time to worship every inch of my body. But tonight there was desperation in his touch, like he was trying to memorize me. "What's wrong?" I asked afterward, tracing the scars on his chest, remnants of a life lived dangerously. "Nothing. Everything." He caught my hand, pressed it over his heart. "Sometimes I can't believe this is real. That you're here, that we have this life, that I get to wake up beside you every morning, and then I think about how easily I could lose it all." "You're not going to lose us. You don't know that. In my world, Emma, the people you love are targets, weapons to be used against you." His arms tightened around me. "The New York families know about you now, about the children. They won't, because you're the most dangerous man I know, and anyone who touches us would face a fate worse than death." I kissed him softly. "You've told me that often enough. I believe you." "I would burn the world for you," he said simply. "All of it. Every person who even thought about hurting you or our children. I'd destroy them without hesitation. I know." And I did. It should have terrified me, this absolute devotion that bordered on obsession. Instead, it made me feel safe in a way I'd never experienced before. The next morning, I woke to Dante already dressed, adjusting his tie in the mirror. He looked every inch the powerful businessman. Tailored suit, expensive watch, hair perfectly styled. But I knew the gun he carried, the danger that lived beneath the civilized exterior. "Be careful," I said from the bed. He turned, moved to me, cupped my face. "Always. I have too much to come home to." A kiss, deep and claiming. "I love you, Emma Moretti. I love you too." I spent the day in comfortable routine, playing with the children, working in the garden, reading in the library that Dante had filled with books he thought I'd like. Mrs. Rosa made lunch, fussed over Marco, taught Lily an Italian lullaby. It was perfect. Normal. Everything I'd dreamed of during those long nights at the diner. Around 4 in the afternoon, my phone rang. Dante's name flashed on the screen. "Hi," I answered, smiling. Are you on your way home? Emma. His voice was tight, controlled in a way that made my stomach drop. Listen to me very carefully. Take the children and go to the safe room. Now, the safe room. We'd never used it, though Dante had shown it to me when we moved in. A reinforced panic room hidden behind a bookshelf, stocked with supplies and communication equipment. What's happening? The meeting went bad. Someone tried to kill me. They failed, obviously, but there might be people coming to the house. It's probably nothing. My men here are handling it. But I need you safe. Please, Emma. Trust me. I trust you. I was already moving, scooping up Marco from his crib, calling for Lily. We're going now. Good girl. I'm sending everyone I have to you. They'll be there in 15 minutes. Stay in the safe room until I come get you myself. Don't open the door for anyone else. Dante, I love you. All of you. This will be over soon, I promise. The line went dead. My hands shook as I gathered Lily, tried to keep my voice calm. We're going to play a game, baby. Remember the special room Papa showed us? The secret room? Her eyes lit up, oblivious to the danger. Yes. We're going to hide there for a while. Won't that be fun? Mrs. Rosa appeared, her face pale but composed. She'd worked for Dante's family for decades. She knew what this life meant. I'll get supplies. You take the children. The safe room was exactly as Dante had left it. Comfortable, well-stocked, with monitors showing every angle of the property. I locked us in, settled the children on the couch, tried to keep my breathing steady. On the monitors, I watched black SUVs arrive. Dante's men, heavily armed, taking positions around the house. More arrived, and more. Within 10 minutes, our home looked like a fortress. Lily played with her dolls, happy in her ignorance. Marco nursed, peaceful and content. And I watched the screens, waiting for threats that didn't come. An hour passed. 2. Finally, movement on the monitors. Dante's Mercedes speeding up the drive. He emerged with Carlo and Enzo, his suit jacket torn, blood on his shirt. Not his own, I prayed. My phone rang. It's me, amore. I'm here. You can come out now. I opened the safe room door to find him standing there, looking like he'd been through war but very much alive. He pulled me into his arms, careful of Marco between us, burying his face in my hair. It's over. The people responsible are dead. The threat is neutralized. He pulled back, examining me and the children with frantic eyes. You're okay? Everyone's okay? We're fine. You're the one covered in blood, not mine. He kissed me hard, desperate. Never mine. I promised to come home to you, and I always will. That night, after extra security checks and putting the children to bed, I found Dante in his study, staring at nothing. Tell me, I said, closing the door behind me. It was planned. A coordinated attack by 3 families who thought they could take me out and divide my territory. He laughed bitterly. They thought wrong. They're all dead now, their operations absorbed by people more loyal to me. How many? Enough. He looked at me, his eyes haunted. I killed the man who ordered the hit myself, watched the life leave his eyes, and I felt nothing but satisfaction. Because he threatened you. Threatened our children. I moved to him, straddled his lap, forced him to look at me. I'm not afraid of you, Dante. I'm not afraid of what you do to keep us safe. You should be. The things I've done today kept us alive, kept our family together. I kissed him softly. I knew who you were when I married you. I chose this life, chose you, knowing exactly what it meant. Don't hide from me now. Something in him broke. He pulled me close, kissed me with a hunger that bordered on violence, made love to me right there in his study like he was trying to prove we were both still alive. Afterward, still tangled together, he whispered against my skin, I want to give you everything, Emma. Normal. Safe. A life where you don't have to hide in safe rooms or watch me come home covered in blood. I don't need normal. I need you. I tilted his face up, made him see the truth in my eyes. You, me, our children, that's all I need. The rest is just details, even when those details include violence and danger. Even then, I kissed him. Because I trust you to protect us. Because I love you. All of you. Including the parts that aren't civilized or gentle. He held me tighter, and I felt his shoulders shake, my dangerous, powerful husband, crying against my shoulder. I don't deserve you, he murmured. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. The months that followed brought changes. Dante consolidated his power, eliminated remaining threats, built alliances that made our family virtually untouchable. He stepped back from the more dangerous aspects of his work, delegating to trusted men, focusing more on legitimate businesses. For me. For the children. For the normal life I'd said I didn't need. But he was determined to give me anyway. On our first anniversary, he took me to the chapel where we'd married, just the two of us under the stars. A year ago, I made you promises, he said, taking my hands. To protect you, cherish you, give you everything. I want to make them again, and mean them even more. You don't have to. I do. Because this year has taught me something, Emma. Having you isn't enough. I want to be worthy of you. I want to be the man you see when you look at me, not the monster my enemies know. You already are that man, then let me keep trying, every day, for the rest of our lives. He pulled out a small box, opened it to reveal a delicate necklace. A golden pendant shaped like a lily, with a tiny ruby for Marco, for the family you've given me, the home you've made, the life I never thought I'd have. I let him fasten it around my neck, felt the weight of it settle above my heart. I love you, Dante Moretti, and I love you, Emma Moretti. My wife, my salvation, my everything. We made love under the stars that night, in the same chapel where we'd promised forever. And I knew with absolute certainty that this was my happy ending. Not perfect, not safe, but mine. Years later, I would stand in our garden watching Dante teach Marco to ride the pony he'd eventually convinced me to get. For Marco, not Lily, who'd moved on to wanting a dog by then. I'd watch Lily help Mrs. Rosa make pasta, chattering in Italian, already showing signs of her father's commanding presence. I'd feel the weight of our third child growing inside me, a daughter we'd name Isabella after Dante's mother. And I'd remember that night in the diner, when a dangerous man had walked through the door and changed everything, when I'd been invisible, exhausted, barely surviving. Dante would find me in the garden, slide his arms around my waist, rest his hand on my swollen belly. What are you thinking about, amore? About how a wrong number changed my life. He'd laugh, that rare, genuine sound I'd learned to covet. Best mistake anyone ever made. Agreed. I'd turn in his arms, kiss him in the fading sunlight. Though I think the universe knew what it was doing all along. Fate. Love. I'd touch his face, this man who'd shown me what it meant to be cherished, protected, adored. It was always going to be you, always was, always will be. He'd kiss me deeply, possessively, a promise renewed. Forever, Emma. I'm yours forever. And standing there in our garden, surrounded by the life we'd built together, I'd believe him. Because Dante Moretti never broke his promises. Not to me, not to our family. Not to the love that had started with a late-night dinner and a message sent to the wrong number. A mistake that had led me exactly where I was meant to be, home.